are making your final decisions. Thank you. Item 2 is we just had a meeting for mitigation discussion on Whitmire Drive concerning issues that we have because of the wastewater treatment improvements. And one of the planned ideas was to allocate a portion of revenue received from that commercial waste revenue stream to take a portion of that money and set it aside in a reserve fund to use for future mitigation for our truck and road issues. And I would like to see that reflected in the budget as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone left willing to speak during the budget public hearing? And again, we have privilege of the floor to follow. Yep, yeah, so unless you have comments specifically about the budget. Okay. So I have an email that was submitted to be read into the record for the budget public hearing, and this is submitted by Kevin Walsh of 2843 Whitmire Drive. And Kevin writes, as you all know, the town is working on mitigation items related to the acceptance of organics at the wastewater treatment plant and the related impacts to the residents of Whitmire Drive. In order to be accomplished, several of the potential mitigation items identified require funding to be set aside from the future revenue generated by organics. I do not see this quote unquote set aside identified in the budget. I respectfully request that a percentage of the future revenue be formally identified in the budget to support these mitigation items. I apologize if the set aside is already contained in the budget. Thank you. And that concludes that letter. I have no further letters to be read during the budget public hearing. And again, last call, is there anyone left willing to speak during the budget public hearing? Okay, so I am not going to close the budget public hearing. I am going to leave the budget public hearing open for the record. So even though no one will continue to speak this evening, you can continue to submit your comments and your letters to me or the town clerk. They will all be incorporated into the minutes. So I'm going to keep the record open until Monday, November 8th at 5 p.m. So if you would like to submit your written comments to us, you can do so until November 8th at 5 p.m. and your comments will be reflected in the record. And this is pursuant to Town Law Section 108, which requires that the quote preliminary budget is available at the office of the town clerk, where it may be inspected by any interested person during office hours for 5 days before the budget public hearing. Our budget was not filed until Tuesday. Therefore, keeping record open ensures compliance with Town Law Section 108 for the public hearing. So again, we're going to keep the record open for your submitted comments until November 8th at 5 p.m. Okay. So we're going to move on to privilege of the floor. I'm going to now open privilege of the floor. I'm going to ask that you keep your comments as best you can to 5 minutes or under. Also, that you maintain a sense of decorum in your comments, that your comments pertain specifically to town-related matters or the business at hand this evening. So with that said, I'm going to go to our first person on my list who would like to speak during privilege of the floor, and that is Elizabeth Paul.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for your service. My name is Elizabeth, 423 Anthony Street. I am standing in front of you on behalf of St. Paul's Indian Orthodox Church. Our sign is missing again. This is the 4th time it's missing. And I got this letter this evening from the police department. They didn't even locate it. I don't know what is this report all about. The only thing they put it in there, what I said to them, my report. But I think this is kind of, somebody is attacking us, so I don't want to put that phrase in here. But this is only a sign so people can come to our church. And Grace Lutheran Church was there for 50 years in front of Niskayuna High School. No one took it. I'm here more than 35 years in this community. I did a lot of community service, so I know all about this community. So I'm requesting your help. please find it. I called the highway department. They didn't call me back. Only the comment, they said, we didn't take it. We cannot control all the signs in this town. Same thing the police officer said, there is no camera, so I cannot locate it. So please help us. Or you can make a sign and put it somewhere. We move one place to the others, and when the school opens, the sign is disappeared. I don't know why. That's why saying I said enough for that. And again, the property is vandalizing. The word I'm using, I don't know, the kids are using the property to playing. They put all the mudslides, Bumbies things, and they made a little house so they can hide it there. And, we don't have any security officer or anything. Due to COVID, we have only like 10 people coming to church. I am the caretaker for that, and I'm an old person too. I'm afraid the kids will attack me also, but I'm very nice. Then they put the wood chips all around, so then the kids took it so they can ride their bikes and everything. So I requested them, maybe they can put it where nothing happens. So, and the windows are broken too, so maybe some more police officers can watch it, and maybe you can talk to the kids. Don't ruin that property. It's a private property. And so this kind of things. It's really sad for a small community like ours. We don't do any harm to you guys. It's only a church, and we are not prophesizing to become a Christian or nothing. It's only a sign. And a church, we like to go and worship that place. Thank you. Then the third one is my house. I am the human being of vandalizing, or, people are coming to my house and taking all my flowers, putting dog poops in my step, and ruining 2 days ago, somebody during the daytime, in the afternoon, they ruined my driveway with the car. I called the police like 4 times early this year, then I stopped calling. There's no, they can't find anything. They asked me to put a lot of cameras in the house, and I'm an old lady, no money. All these cameras cost me a lot of money. And I don't know why they want to cut all my flowers and things like that. And it's scared. I'm living alone with my dog, and next door neighbor wants to kill me and burn my house too. I think I posted that in the senior Facebook. But things that happen in our neighborhood, please keep police around. I'm not asking to someone to come watch me in my property or something, but seniors, and especially due to COVID, nobody can come and watch me. My family can't come on. So especially seniors, I think it's really hard to live alone. You can understand that. But yeah, that's what's happening in my own life. Lastly, the senior center is open. I can have my lunch. Thank you, even though you're due to COVID and the budget crisis, you're keeping all the employees. Thank you for that too. And just tell them, we are all seniors, but they show us some smiley faces and be grateful for that paycheck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay. And next I have Leslie Gold. Did you wish to speak during privilege of the floor? Okay.
Leslie Gold, 1919 Pawtucket Avenue. First of all, I think the crews picking up the yard waste and the storm waste have done a great job. And I think in my case, they maybe went a little beyond, certainly beyond my expectation, and I do appreciate it. One thing about the budget I forgot to mention, and that is I've never gotten a straight answer from the previous controller or anybody else on what's included, because I know many of us pay a fee for the weekly pickup, but it seems to be people, whether they're in that program or not, get leaf pickup in the fall, and they get storm damage pickup whether or not they're in the program. I'd like to know that when you're trying to figure out the rate for those of us in the weekly program, that you're not including that other stuff with it, because it's not fair to put it all on us. Don't know if that's the case or not. All I know is
It's
Paul
not the
never gave
case,
me a straight answer. Never did he give me a straight answer.
He'll give you a straight answer right now. He knows. We talk about it all the time. He'll go outside with you and he'll explain it. But it's not the whole year's It's not the storm removal and
Okay,
things like
that's
that.
good to know.
You have my word on that.
And the other thing is, I use the internet, so I discovered that there was a sign-up process and all. But for people who don't use it, it's like they're being left out of this. I know things are difficult and we have to create new processes and all that, but I think there needs to be some way for people who don't hang out on the internet to know that they still can come to meetings. And while we're on that, I kind of think it needs to be a human contact. And there should be somebody who can receive messages that, gee, I signed up, but something happened and I can't come. Because while we have to limit the participants to so few, I think that's really a point that needs to be tended to. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you. And next I have Linda Rizzo. Did you wish to speak during privilege of the floor? Yes. Okay.
I just want to briefly say that, I've been coming to meetings for a while. I don't like coming every time because I haven't even eaten today. I haven't had a chance. I haven't eaten all day.
Yeah.
And, but I came to say a few things. Public officials are subject to criticism. New York Times versus Sullivan clearly states that. I've been a public official, not elected, but appointed. And believe me, I have been subjected to criticism. Did I remain silent? No. I expressed myself. But I also recognize people had a right to criticize. And I find it just disturbing that when someone speaks at privilege of the floor or they write a letter and the supervisor, Syed, reads it, if they're critical of anyone on this board, that person has the right to respond in writing to them, to explain. But what we don't have a right to do is put people on notice. That you don't have a right to do. Because when one does that, you are abridging their First Amendment rights. And you can't do that. You have a right to question what's going on. You have the public. We have a right to question what's going on. We have a right to disagree with what one is doing on this board. We are the taxpayers. We have a question to comment on about law firms that are being hired at possibly to six figures, who knew who. We have a right to do that. It's our money. It's our wallet. And you were elected by us. So please understand, and I think your attorney can explain this. You have a right to respond. You have a right to go out and criticize me. You have a right to go out and say whatever you want to say about me, but you do not have a right to abridge my First Amendment rights. You do not have a right to try to silence me. And things have been happening in this town that are very peculiar, that have never happened before. Cartoons going out that are offensive, that are 11 years old, with fake return address on it, somebody's address that didn't even send it out. Where they got the cartoon from, I don't know. But it did come from a computer here. These things have never happened before. Letters getting sent into the Gazette under my name happened twice. It stopped. And putting the address of a well-known attorney on as the return address, someone that I know. But I mean, that has never happened before. This type of stuff happened in the last school board election, and people got up and criticized it. Now we have this stuff going on in the town. It's not right. That simply is not right. And it's degrading to the town, to the officials in the town. All this stuff that's going on, this anonymous garbage, is bad. And you know, my opinion is this: anyone who does these things, sending out crap like that, excuse my French, putting an address on, a return address of someone who had nothing to do with it, writing letters to the Gazette in somebody else's name, making anonymous statements, calling people racist. I'm sorry, people that do things like that have a mental problem. They have to, because no sane person does these things. So I just would wish the board, and I wish you would be mindful. There are people that were on this board, and I'll bring his name up again, Mr. Landry, who had horrible things said about him, horrible lies, slanderous things. He would never once dare tell somebody or put somebody on notice. Other board members up here have had horrible things said about them. Maybe not slanderous, but, you know, practically calling them racist. I know Denise has been through it. I know Bill has had comments made where he's been criticized. I know per John Delarada, I've heard some horrible things that people are running around trying to discredit him. He'd never go. No one ever has done that. No one ever has done it. And there's an old Southern expression, and I'll end with it. If you can't run with the big dogs, then please stay on the porch with the little ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, I have Amy Hawansky. Did you wish to speak during privilege of the floor? You're welcome.
Amy Hawansky, 2833 Whitmire Drive. Just to let you know, FYI, the front door was locked. I believe there's an issue with it kind of staying clicked. So it was locked during the finance meeting and before this meeting, so people couldn't get in. Just letting you know about that. And that has happened a couple times last year as well. I think it's just a mechanism issue, that's all. Thank you to the Sewer and Water Department for picking up all of the bags of twigs that I put out last week. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of that, you know, all over town this week since the weather's going to be great. Also, thank you to that crew for planting a whole bunch of disease-resistant elms in Blatnick Park, and also for the other trees that they planted this year. We, as part of the tree council, we're grateful for their installation of the trees. My last comment is difficult to talk about, especially with the request to have a sense of decorum. Last year, on a certain night on Whitmire Drive, we saw fire trucks go by and down to the wastewater treatment facility. At the next one or two board meetings, I asked questions about that fire. I was then told that there was no fire. Councilwoman McGraw then asked Mr. Yeto to come to this podium during privilege of the floor to dispute my questions and claim that there was a fire at the wastewater treatment facility. I was concerned about that kind of public dressing down of a person at the privilege of the floor podium, so I brought my concerns to the ethics committee. Now, at the time, I did not know the correct procedure for, you know, bringing up an incident to the ethics committee. So the gentleman there described to me what you do in the future. And thank you for that. I understand the process now. But during that time when I was speaking, Mr. Briggs said that I was making up stuff and that there was no fire. So 3 people, you know, accused me of making up information, lying, and having incorrect facts. These were words used, which I have recordings of. I find that that's not really the way to approach, you know, a person when they're talking at privilege of the floor. So, you know, that was a public dressing down, accusing me of not having my facts straight. Up until COVID this year, I think people knew that I was very involved in figuring out what was going on at the town. I attended tons of meetings, not just board meetings, but committee meetings. I do a lot of research. I read the budget line by line by line, attended all the budget meetings last year. and was very involved in trying to figure out what's going on and who's doing what and how are things working in our town. So to accuse me of not having my facts straight isn't really accurate. So I think that in the future, you need to avoid that kind of thing. This earlier today, we had a meeting before this one for mitigation issues on Whitmire Drive, and it was confirmed that there was a fire at the wastewater treatment facility, which the town put in a claim to the insurance department. The insurance declined that claim. So that money had to come to fix it. It has been fixed, but to fix it, that money had to come out of our budget. So let's have a public apology. Since I was publicly dressed down, I think it's fair to have a public apology on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I do have 2 letters that were submitted for privilege of the floor. Before I read these letters, I will ask, is there anyone left willing to speak during privilege of the floor? Yes, sir. And just state your name and address for the record.
May I take off my mask? I'm 6 feet away. My name is Josh.
We prefer you to keep your mask on.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would ask that you keep it on.
That's not a problem. Put it back on. My name is Josh Meppen, 838 Pierce Road. And I'd just like to thank the town board for standing and or hearing my comments. I appreciate the privilege that that I have to speak in front of you guys. And thank you for your time. I submitted a letter September 21st. I think it was 2 meetings ago, in regards to the way that me and my family have been treated by a former town employee, Paul Sebestia. And I think everybody's read the letter, is aware of it. And I'd just like to take the opportunity to ask you for any comments. I'd like some feedback. I wrote the letter, and I'd like to know if you have any feedback.
Sir, we don't give feedback, and the town board does not provide feedback at privilege of the floor. We don't get into discussions with residents. We listen to their complaints or their concerns.
Okay.
So you're welcome to meet with any of the board members if you make an appointment with them.
Okay,
Thank
so make an appointment and then I'll be heard. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay,
And you're welcome to attend any of the committee meetings. We have citizen participation all the time in our committee meetings.
okay. So I'd just like to reiterate how I was treated for the past 3 years, 4 years by your town comptroller, Paul Sebestia, my neighbor. Okay? He abused his powers. He influenced your building department, planning department officials and imposed multiple stop work order notices on my property, most of which were unfounded. And she's shaking her head. Go ahead and shake your head. Okay. Yeah, it is terrible. It's awful. And most recently, it took me 3 years to build my house, my residence in the town of Niskayuna, our dream home. Okay? All the while, my neighbor and your former comptroller, Paul Sebestia, meddling in building department matters, felt the need to constantly needle at me and my family and impose. And I got this binder, this is a consolidated binder of FOIA requested documents that show all the emails that he sent to building department officials to cause problems for very little reason. Most recently, I've got a stop work order notice because I put landscaping in my yard. I put non-structural retaining walls in my yard. I put cobble in my yard. Yes, I dumped multiple dump truck loads of topsoil in my yard, okay? And when you add it all up, it amounts to 1/4 of an inch over 1/2 acre, okay? And I'm looking through these emails, and I'm scratching. These guys are scratching. Paul's directing the planning board to put a stop work order notice on me for minor landscaping activity. The building department couldn't even put a reason to put a stop work order notice. Paul kept needling and needling and needling. And what do you know? I get a stop work order notice because I put privacy screens, 2 6x6 posts, 10 feet apart with lattice. So I had some privacy in my backyard. Yeah, I put some cobble in my backyard, some stone. Okay, yeah, it's a dump truck load. I'm a contractor. I'm not going to Home Depot and picking up bags. I'm sorry. Okay? Because Paul saw dump truck loads, he felt the need to influence the building department to put a stop work order notice on me. I looked in every town code and rule, and nowhere did I see that I was in violation or needed a permit. Okay? And I see the emails through FOIA requested documents that show the building department, the planning department. They couldn't support them. They were scratching, trying to find a reason to impose a stop work order notice. And what do you know? It's still on my property today. Okay? Because I want to beautify my lawn. Is that such a crime, people? Guys, think about it. Is that such a crime? Come on. What is the crime in that? And I gotta stop work order notice because of it? And I battled and battled for 3 years. Nobody's listened to me. Okay? It's because my neighbor, Paul Sebestia, who's got a mental complex and some sort of prejudice against me. I've never said 2 words to that guy. Okay? But now I've got systemic prejudice against me because the guy had so much power, so much influence on the planning board and building department that they just wanted him to go away. Okay, Paul. Yeah, we'll listen to you. We'll give him a stop work order notice. Okay, is it? Guys, 2 months ago, I wrote the letter. I don't want to be put out there. I don't want to be in front of this board. I want to sell my property and get out of the town of Niskayuna. Okay? I do not want Niskayuna on my address. I don't want it. I love you guys and thank you for your service. You guys are great, good people. Nothing against you. But what he has put me through and what the town has allowed him to do and gone along with has created so much emotion in my family. I don't even want to come home to my house. I can't stand it. I want to move out of the town of Niskayuna. All I'm asking for the board to do is to consider lifting my stop work order notices so that I can sell my property. Can the board please hear me out? Can you? Bill, Dennis, Yasmin, Paul, whoever else, is anybody out there? Can you guys hear me? I didn't do anything wrong. I beautified my lawn, okay? And the fact that Paul Sebestia is my neighbor, I've got a stop work order notice for doing that. I looked in the town code. I didn't see any reason to apply for a permit. So why would I? Okay? Matt, any comments? You go ahead and speak. Come on up
Sir,
with me.
we don't,
Yeah, whatever.
I told you we don't make
Yeah,
those
okay,
comments.
that's fine, Paul, okay? And I'll tell you this, Paul, okay? I also decided to take the higher road. I've got this stack of emails that show abuse of power, okay? That Paul, he abused his power. There's a stack of emails here, guys. I took the higher road. I didn't file a claim against the town of Niskuna. I'm not looking for money, guys. Yeah, I could sue you. I'm taking the higher road. I'm simply asking for you to hear me out and to pull the stop work order notices. Okay? Is that too much?
The town board can't do that, sir. That's the job of the building department, and the building department will issue stop work orders, and if they're inappropriate, then the town's attorney's office deals with them.
Hey, Paul, I've been dealing with this for 3 years, buddy, okay? Is that all you're gonna say? Come on, help me out, Paul. That's all I'm asking for.
Sir, the process has to be the process.
The process is the process. Gotcha. Okay, well, anyway, you guys, all you do is hear complaints, and I'm sure it isn't fun. I respect you guys, and I just hope that somebody is on my side. All I'm looking for is to move. I'm looking to move out of the town of Niskuna. Can you help me? Somebody help me, please. All right? That's all I'm asking for. Anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone left willing to speak? Okay, I have one very brief letter submitted via email. It was submitted by Harold Pells of 203 Oxford Way. Harold writes, aside of truly damaged trees, cutting down of trees should be strictly controlled / limited via permits. A proof of need to be overseen by qualified or existing Niskuna agencies / departments. And that concludes that email. So I will ask, finally, is there anyone left willing to speak during privilege of the floor before I close it? Thank you. You too. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to close privilege of the floor. We're going to move on to our resolutions. I'm going to begin with Resolution 2020-279, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw and Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
Resolution authorizing a contract with a consultant for racial equity auditing services.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Okay, no second. We'll move on to Resolution 20. Did you? No. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun here.
Yes, I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Excuse me. Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
That's 4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-280, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution making a seeker determination on improvements to Aqueduct Park.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Jakewith.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
That's 4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. hold one moment. So I'm going to have to take up from the floor again, Resolution 2020-279. The copy that we have is incomplete.
The resolved paragraph of the resolution number 2029 will read, resolve that this town board does hereby authorize the supervisor to award a contract to CNA 3003 Washington Boulevard, Arlington, Virginia, in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in the proposed attached Tier 2 and made a part hereof at a total cost not to exceed $25,164.69. The resolution that we acted on didn't have that language.
It's in mine.
So what we need to do is we needed to strike the first resolve.
Resolve and put
Right.
this one in. Okay. Both resolves are in the resolutions that we have
Yes.
here. So we don't even need to do anything else. There's just one bad resolve. Or strike this
We need to move to strike the first resolved
resolve, which says basically nothing. So
and substitute. So we need a motion from,
just to strike the first resolve. That's-
and to substitute in the second resolve.
The second resolve is already in the,
I added that in because that wasn't there when we voted on it and tabled it.
okay.
So that's why it's
All
got
right,
to
so
be.
I will make a motion to strike the first resolve
Okay.
and add the proper resolve that was just read by the town attorney.
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Supervisor.
You're welcome. Okay, will the
Call
clerk please call the roll on that amendment?
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McCart.
Aye.
Hartman, Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes on the motion.
Okay,
Thank
so amendment passes, and now we will take up the motion once again as amended. Will the clerk please call the roll on that?
Sure. Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes.
Motion as amended passes. Okay, we already took up and voted on 220-280, so I'm going to restart with 220-281, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a contract with Barton and LaJudas for upgrades to Aqueduct Park in connection with the Canal Corps and Mohawk Watershed grants.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
That's 4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-282, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution calling for a public hearing on a special use permit for a proposed restaurant located at 2207-2209 Knott Street, former barber shop.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
That's 4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-283, sponsored by Supervisor Syed and Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a memorandum of agreement with the Niskayuna Police Benevolent Association regarding concurrent use of paid sick leave during an unpaid FMLA leave of absence.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed,
Yes,
and that's 4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-284, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing an accountant.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
And that's 4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2020-285, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw, Councilman McPartlin, Supervisor Syed, and Councilwoman Jakewith. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a contract for human resources consulting services.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Well, Councilman Delarada isn't here, who's the only person who could have done this, so I will take my name off the resolution and I will second it. How's that?
Okay, that works. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to recognize the fact that the town board's been talking for some time about taking a good look at human resources and how to better serve our employees. And this consulting contract, I feel, is a step in the right direction, looking at how we provide our human resources services to our employees. It'll be a review and eventually, hopefully, result in some more lasting changes to the benefit of our employees.
Thank you. Are there any further comments?
I'll be shorter. I just want to thank Ismet and Janet. There was a lot of work that went into this, a lot of research. Thank you both very much. This is an important step for us. We take it very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
That's 4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have one more
2020,
resolution,
86.
286.
Oh, geez.
I know. Keep
Okay,
your
I've
toes
got it
to
right
that,
here.
Supervisor.
In my mess of papers. Okay, last but not least, we have Resolution 220-286. Will the clerk please read if you have a copy?
I do. A
Wonderful.
resolution designating the town controller as the human resource and town compliance manager.
Thank you, and this is sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
I'm very pleased that we're moving forward on this. It's a very important piece of legislation for us. I want to thank, again, Ismet and Janet for moving it forward, and thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman Jakewith,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw,
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
That's 4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Okay, with no further business, I believe, yet to take up for the rest of the night, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. If I could have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are now adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening. We're now going to quickly convene our agenda meeting.
Good night.
Bye, Elizabeth.
You're auctioning brand cars. You're auctioning brand cars. You're auctioning brand cars. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, we do the
Right,
paperwork.
so it's not an issue with like her vehicles on. Oh.
I don't know, it doesn't want to be over you.
Yeah, well, I have a list. No, it's time to go to the town board. The town board is fine.
Yeah, through bank circle, that we don't normally, I think that's got to.
Yeah, I don't know that yet. I don't know, yeah, we'll just do one variation.
Do you have what?
Yeah. You need to give me a list of surplus vehicles. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, why don't you just like, I'll give you a bit of a right here. I'll just send you. You can do that. Anything you can sell. Listen, I'll sell the photo. Ladies are at this point. Okay, now the second floor, the first floor. Okay, that's all. You have one of the. Yeah, because we're just gonna put it all on one. Okay, so I know your ID, and then I'll text you back. When you'll have that. Okay. Yeah.
I think about it.
Now we're doing an agenda. Oh, okay.
All right, if everyone's ready, I'm going to call us to order. Give us a couple more minutes.
Are you ready, Bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Okay, I'm now going to call to order the November 5th, 2020 Town Board Agenda Meeting. I see that Ray is having a conversation right now, so we'll move on to Laura with Economic Development, Historic Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee items.
Okay, so number 3 is a resolution to take action on the special use permit for a restaurant located at 2207-2209 Knott Street. This is a tentative one. I've got it in there because you're scheduling the public hearing, and I know Rosemary already shared some comments with me. We'll get a better sense of where we're at with the planning board meeting on Monday. If it's not controversial, and we have a lot of support, there's not any like physical changes to the site that are happening. And so these are typically pretty easy special use permits to go through and make sure that we're not negatively impacting people by a 3-month process at the town board. But if it does seem like it needs to be slowed down and have that extra look at it, there's really no issue. So it's just tentative, and we can sort of decide right before if we just want to pull that one and wait, or if we're pretty good with all the public comments that we get. Did anybody have any questions on that one? Okay. The resolution awarding a contract for Upper Union Streetscape improvements. This is another of our DASNY grants. This is an old grant, I believe, actually, Kathy Matern had this one. And it's a crosswalk between Brookdale Homes and St. Cattery, and it gives like a refuge in the middle of Union Street for people to cross there. I think there was a fatality a while back. So high visibility crosswalk and some sidewalk repairs and some streetscape improvements, and hopefully in the range of $125,000, all grant and no match. So as long as that comes underneath what we bid, which the engineer's estimate was, we should be good to go. Not going to actually be constructed until spring, so not a super rush timeline on this one, but since the bid's coming in, Michelle, did she leave? She's not here tonight. It's coming in next week, so I think we have plenty of time if we're happy with it to award it at the end of the month.
That part of Union Street, is that our road, county, state road there?
County.
County Road, so we'll be working with them on it. And
Yeah, they, we went back and forth with them on what to put in the RFP, and they did approve us putting it out, and they got a copy of it.
thanks, Laura.
I wanted to plant flowers in the median and got overruled by the county. I'm sure that surprises all of you. And then I'm adding a 4A, which we talked about at finance just really briefly, for the River Road Park project. We've got the $250,000 for the grant from PhilStech. We've got $250,000 bonded. When we awarded that grant, we were under the $500,000, I think, so we were in pretty good shape. But then when we did our pre-construction meeting and met out with there is a little bit of soil erosion and sediment control work that has to be done. So we asked the contractor what it would cost. That was the proposal that I sent you. It's $23,360. I know there's no money. Rosemary and I and Yasmin, we're talking about like what we can do to bring this down. The softball club is willing to send out an army of volunteers on Saturday to do soil erosion and sediment control. Ray put $2,500 of his budget towards the filter sock. He's doing everything that he can to help, and so that's taking some away. If you guys give me the go ahead, I'll be out there. Maybe with Lily, who knows? Trying to get it to go. But I think with a $500,000 project and all this volunteer service and it all ready to go, it's pretty key right now to just, if you guys want to, put that extra money in to get it going and get it done right. And the alternative is that you wait to the spring, and then you're still going to have to deal with this in some way. I know the fund balance is tight, and we tried really hard to bring it under $500,000, and I have tried really hard to bring this even lower. But I think that right now, we've done everything that we possibly can to get this going, and this is really needed so that we can break ground.
Laura, explain to us why this all of a sudden, came up in terms of an additional, amount of money for the erosion and purposes, and also explain to us if it can be done without it. I mean, because I don't understand where it came from, how it's coming up at the 11th hour.
Well, because I think when you guys were originally looking at the bids that came in and they were all in the, almost $600,000, almost $700,000 range, we were like, whoa, that, why is it so much bigger? And I sent you guys like this whole slew of documents, and I completely understand if you guys didn't all read them. But like back in May, when the engineers originally came out with the engineer's estimate for this project, or actually even before May, this project was estimated at $2 million. And that's what I was telling you guys when these bids came in, like we whittled it away, and we took stuff out and whittled it away. And during all of that whittling, we did end up assigning some of the items to the town, which unfortunately, because of all the timing and everything that's happened with the leaves and with COVID and everything, the town actually just really can't do it right now. So,
Wait a minute, Laura, maybe I'm not understanding what this is. I thought this was on top, like I thought there was, the issue of the prep work.
Yeah.
And that was being taken care of. That this is a separate issue, or is it the same?
It's the same. I actually think the volunteers are able, so I was talking to Josh about this ahead of time. The volunteers are taking a chunk out of this. So I don't actually think you'll see the full 23,000. It'll probably be a significant amount lower than that. But there's still things that the volunteers can't do, like the volunteers can't take the backstops down. They may not be able to take the actual poles for the fence out. They probably can't build a concrete washout area and a stabilized construction entrance. So the volunteers, I think, are whittling away as much as they possibly can at that. And like I said, highway is actually taking the materials out of highway's existing budget. So, that's something that the town is just absorbing. So this would just be anything that's remaining. And it could be actually much lower than 23,000, but like just in the estimation that Josh had with all the work that the volunteers are doing and everything that we're doing, it's probably good to at least have a change order ready to go for some amount of money so that we can.
Right, that was my understanding that, I saw you shared those emails with me about the softball people getting together, like 30 people to,
on Saturday.
To rip down fences and to, try and pull at things. And then, you put down the silt.
Socks.
that Ray has, generously provided out of his budget.
Yeah.
So those other items that you mentioned are what's left.
There's a volunteer.
But it would be very nice to know like what that amount would be.
Yeah, we tried because Josh really understands it better than I do. And he tried to get a hold of the contractor before the meeting tonight. But we weren't able to do so.
I know you weren't here for the, earlier part, but, and we keep talking about the excessive use of fund balance this year and it just continues to be a problem moving forward.
Yeah.
And I know we have this grant that, we got from Phil Stuck and that it's got to be used. I guess I would say, since we don't really know how are we going to know what the actual number is?
So I was hoping that you guys could take action in finance so that I could wrap this up and really be ready to go on Saturday. But if it actually has to go to the town board via resolution, we'll definitely have a number by then. It's I would say less than 20,000, but probably not, probably. According to Josh, it's probably more like in the $15,000 to $18,000 range. It's not like I was thinking the volunteers could pretty much, take on all of that, but he was like, Laura, it's a little bit more than putting filter sock down. So.
Yeah, well, I think it makes a difference knowing, what that is. And we know you've whittled, but maybe we need to whittle some more. I mean, it's just, it's a lot of money, a lot of an investment already. And I don't know, can we find $10,000 or $15,000 in savings in the project somewhere else is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
And I know you've cut down a lot already, but gee, I just, I wasn't at the pre-construction meeting. I know it's difficult, but we have to ask, obviously.
Of course.
We have to ask.
Yeah. I mean, I completely understand the questions and I don't want to raid fund balance. I just think that on a $500,000 project, if you need an extra $10,000 to $15,000, $1,000 to get it going, you're talking about like 2% of the project cost. And I think that that's something that happens fairly regularly. Like if it was a water main and they needed an extra $10,000, to put in a fire hydrant, I'm not sure that you guys would even blink. I completely understand why you have to ask those questions, but I think that it's not that irregular to have something come up right at the start of the project that you just have to take care of in order to get it to go forward.
Well, and no question about that. And probably as we proceed, that's the other thing. I mean, those things happen, which is why, we're really trying to hold it down even before we get started. And I get it in the context of the project, but we have to look at it in the context of the overall budget and the overall use of fund balance. So certainly don't disagree as a percentage of the project. It's very small. But in the context of looking at the entire budget and the use of fund balance, et cetera, every bit matters. So that's why we have to, at least that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good question. Maybe we can whittle more. And I'm thinking, like we really only have, like a day to figure this out, because if we delay this project by a week, you're losing the winter season. Like at that point, it's hard to get sod. These guys really probably need to get out there on Monday. So, I mean, if we can whittle it down to the point where it doesn't actually need town board approval and it's like within the supervisor's signing authority, I don't know what that is off the top of my head. It's probably in the range of like $3,000 to $5,000 unless somebody knows that off the top of their head.
$6,500.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we can get it down that low, if you guys are comfortable with us whittling it as far as we can possibly go and get it down to there so that we can move it forward, that gives me good guidance. If if that's something that we could look at doing, I don't know how you guys would feel about that.
If you can get it down that far, I mean, that's significant.
Would that money still have to come from fund balance, or is it possible we can find it somewhere else? Can we collect cans and
I mean, so many people are giving so much to this project.
I know.
We can keep trying. Yeah.
No question. And again, we have to ask.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, let me work on getting it down low enough that it wouldn't necessarily trigger that, and then see if, Yasmin and Ismat and Janet and I can, be really frustrated with the entire thing, but see if we can get it to work tomorrow, I guess. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, Laura.
Yep.
Okay, I skipped over Ray, so I'll go back to you for Highway Parks and Rec Committee items.
Just to follow up on what Laura was saying, we dropped the materials off today, the silt fencing and drainage socks that are needed with the additional stakes for if the volunteers do come, the materials are there for, to get something.
Who's gonna supervise them?
Huh,
Laura is supervising?
Laura? Number one is a resolution authorizing the sale of highway and parks equipment through public auction. We went through and we just had an auction here not too long ago that we surplus some vehicles and stuff like this. We went through, these are some stuff that we had bought through the military surplus and some odds and ends that we had around the highway that, you know, during these times, we hope that this money coming back, you know, can help the budget and stuff like that, and a little bit of house cleaning. So we hope it helps. Number two, a resolution authorizing the purchase of bleachers. This is for the Schenectady County grant that was awarded to the town for the upgrades in the different parks. This is off a state contract pricing with delivery. This is 10 bleachers, 10 sections of bleachers.
You know, are you setting them up?
Yeah.
You have to do the install.
Yeah.
These are those movable ones though, right? They're
Yeah,
gonna be like
they're-
permanent, you'll be able to move them
They're
around.
movable. You're not gonna throw them in a pickup truck, but you know, 6 guys could put them on a trailer and put them in different parks to be used in different seasons. So rather than get big stadium bleachers and be more permanent, you know, we can't move them. So we thought this was a better idea. Although they're smaller, you can put a couple on each baseline or, you know, down to the soccer park, and have mobility with them. So we're hoping this is a pretty good fit. They have freight included. The grant was a little bit more than that, but this is as close as we could come with freight and all that. So this would be my recommendation to do this. And then once they're ordered, and I have some other items that I've ordered, we will take them POs over to the county and get them started on the process of reimbursing us. I know you guys had put the money forth last month so that we could facilitate this and get this going. So we'll try to get a pretty rapid return. I talked to Matt on a couple of the splash pad features earlier. He'll get me that paperwork and I'll submit it all together. So we hope to get a fast return. Okay?
Thanks, Ray.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. Indeed.
Just as a quick side note, we were just discussing this prior to the meeting on the resolution to authorize the sale of surplus highway parks and equipment through public auction. We'd like to add 2 police vehicles that were impounded at the chief's request, and I believe Matt's going to provide me a list as well. And we felt that we probably didn't need to do 3 separate resolutions, right, Paul? We can just do one resolution, and I'll get all the vehicle identification information together and we'll put it on one resolution.
Janet, just for my information, how is that money allocated back?
To the department that it was purchased from.
Okay, I just wondered if it all goes into general fund or if it goes back. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure.
So we're working on a sponsorship initiative for various locations around town. Lisa Stevens is really heading that under the oversight of Lori Peretti. That's not yet complete, but we've already received one offer for a sponsorship at the dog park. So even though it's a small amount, rather than have to hold off until we finish this larger project, just tentatively a resolution authorizing a sponsorship agreement with Smuckers for an advertisement opportunity at the Niskuna Dog Park.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexis.
All right. Next, we have Public Works Committee items with Matt Yetto.
Okay, number 5, Dan Plawinski has been working for the town for almost a year. He's getting close to the end of his probationary period. Very happy with him at this point, and I'd like to recommend that he be permanently appointed as a maintenance worker. At number 6, need to do a correction to the utility warrant for the first half of 2020 for the residential and commercial. There was a misreading of a meter, which wasn't picked up until after the bills went out. Normally, this would be picked up with our mid-cycle reads, but because of the COVID response, we, being at reduced staffing, didn't do a mid-cycle read. So when they brought this to our attention, we saw the issue and we just need to make the change. Number 7 is a resolution approving the second quarter 2020 corporate utility reconciliation. I've been working with Chris, the billing clerk, and Kathy in my office, and we'll have the final numbers ready to go any day now, so we'll be ready for the meeting. Same is true for number 8 for the third quarter of 2020 corporate utility warrant. That's a pretty simple calculation. We have that ready to go, and we'll be ready for the meeting. Number 9, I didn't mention this when at the Public Works Committee this morning. We talked about the water main project, but it was something that was left off. The original design contract that we had with Prime Engineering, we gave them an estimate of 350 hours for inspection services for the project. That was something that we gave everybody who bid on the job so that we get an apples to apples comparison. Their number came in higher, so they need an additional $21,000 of funding to pay for a change order to finish out the project as far as inspection services. The job went slower than normal, partly because of COVID, weather, and then also some of the other field conditions that they came across as they were working. A lot of the water services for the existing homes did not mark out correctly when you call Dig Safely New York, and they progressed very slowly through certain portions of the project because they had to very carefully dig and not hit things, because in most cases, a water service is located within 2 feet. They were finding them 15 feet away from where they were supposed to be. They hit 3 or 4 of them, so it slowed down the progress. They tried with their equipment, we tried with our equipment, we could not locate them. But the good news is the project is under budget. I say it's going to be $21,000 for additional engineering services. With the contingency that's built into the contract, we're $35,000 ahead of where we should end up. So we'll have the additional money in the budget to pay for the engineering services. So we just won't pay the full contract price that we awarded, because we always award not to exceed for the construction services, but that's going to come in under budget, and we'll use that money towards the engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on that? Okay. And number 10 is just an additional item for Ray's list of surplus equipment. We have a trailer that we want to surplus, and then also a handheld GPS unit we would like to surplus. Any questions? Good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, last but not least, we have Finance and General Government Committee items with Comptroller Ismatullah.
Thank you, Supervisor. So item 11, a resolution authorizing certain budgetary modifications. So I didn't realize that we have to, pass the annual budget for each district. So I'll just say it together. So a resolution adopting the annual budget of the town of Niskayuna for 2021 for General Fund and Highway Fund, Sewer District 1, Sewer District 6, Water District 1, Drainage Districts, Town of Niskayuna Lighting Districts, and the Town of Niskuna Park Districts, all for 2021 budget. Now jumping to item number 19, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a memorandum of agreement with CSCA Water and Sewer Unit, authorizing the town to opt in to New York paid family leave on behalf of the collective bargaining unit. Item 20, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a memorandum of agreement with CSCA Town of Niskuna Unit White Collar, authorizing the town to opt in to New York paid family leave on behalf of the collective bargaining unit.
We're actually going to pull that resolution. It did not pass that bargaining unit. They voted it down.
Okay,
Okay, what about the next?
so item 20?
Yeah,
Okay,
okay. 21, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a memorandum of agreement with local union 1130, County and Municipal Council 66 of American Federation of States, County and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO Highway Union, authorizing the town to opt in to New York paid family leave on behalf of the collective bargaining unit. Number 22, a resolution adopting a nepotism policy for the town of Niskuna. Thank you.
great. Thank you so much. Okay, before I conclude, if there's anyone joining us remotely, if they would like to participate, if they have anything to add. Doesn't sound like it. Any other department heads or staff members who'd like to contribute to the meeting? Oh, okay. If there's anyone joining us remotely, if you would like to, if you have any additions to the agenda tonight, I will allocate some time if you'd like to speak. Sounds like we're good. Okay, great. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. If I could have a second on that motion.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned for the evening. Everybody have a wonderful night.